I'd like to begin by paying my respects to the Wurundjeri people, the traditional custodians of this land where we are meeting upon today, for its elders and past and present, and even for self-advocacy people too.
You are now listening to Raising Our Voices, 8:55 and on your radio dial.
This show is produced by Amida and Reinforce,
looking at accommodations rights for people with intellectual disabilities with focus on housing issues.
Welcome to Raising Our Voices at 3CR 8:55am Community Radio. My name is Bronwyn from Armida, and today I'm here with Janice Slattery from Reinforce and Jane Rosegrave from Reinforce and Saru and Armida. Today we're talking about the National Awards for Disability Leadership. The Lesley Hall Lifetime Achievement Award was announced on the 3rd of December, being the International Day for People with Disability. And Janice Slattery is the recipient. The Lifetime Achievement Award has been named after Lesley Hall. She was a pioneer of the disability rights movement, a feminist and disability activist who worked to advance the rights of women and girls with disability. There's a lot of work, Janice, that I can see that you've done over the years in the disability sector as an advocate. How about I list a few of those things and we'll talk about them?
Yep.
So, first of all, I understand that you were working at Villamanta Disability Rights Legal Service as a committee member.
Yes.
You were also working as a committee member on the board for Armida, which stands for Action for More Independence and Dignity and Accommodation. That was from 1986 until...
Also, in those days, it was called Accommodation for Mildly Intellectual Disability, right up until 1992 when they had to change the whole structure of the name.
I see.
When Jeff Kennett came in and budget cuts, everyone.
Right. I see. Yes. You were also on the National Disability Advisory Council in Canberra as part of government?
Yes, yep. That was back in 2001 when I was appointed as a disability on the Natural Disability Advisory Council, the Canberra, when Kay Patterson, that's it, I can remember her name, she was in government. And Kay and I had a good conversation about shopping one day.
Shopping.
She loves shopping.
I understand you're also working at the Office of the Public Advocate.
Yes, I was working on the Public Advocate in 2005 as the independent third persons program, where we came in and interviewed. We were actors, right? And you know how people with disabilities, when they get interviewed by police and they didn't understand the roles and that, where we have an independent third person comes in, explain to them what the roles is and that before they get interviewed by the police and that.
It's a very important job to be doing, to assisting people in that way. And you're working at the Women's Health West as a peer educator?
Yep, that was my first real job in 1994. as I was a peer educator. That was a statewide project about 2 health issues, Pap-Social and Breast for Me, where we were giving information to women about how to keep their body healthy and all that.
You were working at Deakin University on a project, Respectful Relationships and Safer Sexual Lives as well.
Yep. I started with them in 2010 and we had a couple of sites where we went to Tasmania, Brisbane, Bendigo, giving talks to women, to a group of peer educators trying to recruit them about who wants to be around to do the project. So we managed to get so many peer educators from each state working on the project.
I see. I understand that project also took you to London.
Yes, he took me to London in 2011 and Iceland, the London and Iceland, and then Sweden in 2012, which was very cold.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've done this travel as well for those projects, which is fantastic.
Yep.
I understand then you were working for Australian Federation of Disability Organisations, AFDO, how to include people with disabilities in conferences.
Yep. I worked on that project. It was a 3-month project. I worked on that project back in 2009. I worked very closely with Lesley Hall, and she gave me the opportunity to travel to Darwin and to South Africa and that.
That's brilliant. So it's very fitting that you've worked closely with Lesley Hall and then you've been granted this Lesley Hall Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yep, which I'm very honoured to be in, to get that award and that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Jane, you've also been a strong advocate over many years, working at quite a few organisations. So Reinforce.
Reinforce, and I've been on the I've been in the country as well, talking to disability people out there about the NDIS as well, and I've even been like to Warrnambool, down to Gippsland, up towards the west, and it was
around the
Grampians. Yeah, around the Grampians and that. And it was talking about the NDIS on what people can expect once it's rolling out in the, for people with a disability.
That's it.
And then the other thing I've been doing is I've been going, going way back, I'd done the housing rights for people with a disability, and that was over at Colac, that was. That was going to the institution there, telling them that they've got their rights, and for when they are ready to move out of the institutions to be put into the community, just like anybody else. And
have those same rights. That's
right, have the same rights and to be treated exactly the same way as anybody else, and I'm including the Indigenous as well. I am, because us Indigenous people were always left out. We were, and taken off our families and put into missions.
Right.
That's right. But I wasn't. I was dumped into an institution which was not so pleasant, and it was called Pleasant Creek Training Centre in Stawell.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
We know over history that Indigenous rights have not been respected, and also people with disabilities in community residential units or institutions. It's important work that you've been doing. Yes,
definitely, because I've even been up with the Royal Commission as well, travelling around with the Royal Commission on telling the people who were brought up in institutions that they can tell their story. And we have done all around the Grampians area. I've travelled to Tasmania with the Royal Commission, and I've even travelled up in Alice Springs with my brothers and sisters up there, telling them the information that they can come forward and tell their stories and all this. And I've been travelling everywhere, you might as well say, because we need that word out there. We need people to come forward and tell their stories. I know it is closed, but you can still do it now. You can.
I also understand, Jane, you won an award last year,
Yes.
a Human Rights Award.
Yeah, I won the Human Rights Awards last year, and that was for helping with the Royal Commission on travelling around with the Royal Commission on... I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't, because there was another 4 people involved as well in the nomination, and I was up in Sydney, and it was at one of the big motels that have got a big, huge room. And when they started calling out the nominations, my name was first, and then the other people's. And then when they said the Human Rights Award for the whole of Australia is Jane Rosegrave, and I was just over the moon, I was, and I was just not expecting it. And
No.
I was the first person with a disability, or an intellectual disability, and an Aboriginal woman out there who has won the Human Rights Awards for the whole world.
That is fantastic, Jane. That is brilliant. You've both been doing some really, really just groundbreaking work.
Yes, definitely. And another one I've been in is with the Indigenous as well, going into Melbourne, doing the walking down...
The rallies?
The rallies and all that of
Okay.
the Aboriginals. And we've raised our voices up to those bloody governments.
You're talking about rights, deaths in custody.
That's right, yes.
Rightful ownership of
Yep,
Australia.
and taking our land as well, because the Aboriginals, we own the whole of Australia. We do. And we're going to keep owning it for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Yeah.
Yes. That's brilliant.
You go out there, brothers and sisters, deadly, and show them what we can do. Deadly!
Able-bodied Australia does not realise that people with disabilities across the board are being discriminated against. Then the government to demand that we go out and get a job without removing the disincentives like the lack of access to transport and community infrastructure, without providing accessible buildings that can provide barrier-free employment. I'm not getting a fair go, and I don't like it, and I'm saying so.
You're listening to 3CR, 8:55 on the AM dial.
Guatemala, I'm Black Betty, and you can join me for Black Noise Radio each Thursday from 2 to 3 p.m. Join me each week as I serve you up a deadly fine offering of all things black as we explore Black Australia and everything fabulous it has on the offer. We'll check out and see what's making black news locally and from right around Australia. And we'll explore all things Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander and the deadly solid culture and people with a look at community news, views, music, culture and the arts. Hope you can join me for Black Noise Radio, featuring black news, views, current affairs, music, culture and the arts from an Aboriginal woman's perspective. That's me, Black Betty. I'll see you Thursdays at 2.
You're listening to 3CR, Raising Our Voices, 3cr.org.au. You can also listen online to podcasts. We're here with
Jane and Janice, who are 2 professional, strong, powerful self-advocacy women out there.
That's quite right. You brilliant work you've been doing. Amazing. Jane, I want to ask you some more information about your work from your background over all these years. So you were mentioning you've been presenting about NDIS around Victoria.
Yes.
You've been doing strong advocacy work about preventing abuse in Indigenous communities.
Yes, and just not even Indigenous, for people who are white as well. And what happened, they asked me would I like to be in a program on domestic violence because I've been through it and that. And then there's been 3 other people, women as well, who were involved in it too. And what we did, we actually picked where we wanted it, and I wanted it down by the river because of my tribe, Yorta Yorta, and that. And because the river, it felt like if I was there with my dad and my spirit, that was helping me through it and that. And it was talking about my abuse and what actually happened. Not all of it, but just some bits, more important bits and all this.
Okay.
And they asked me questions on how can we get that word out there for these women who are still going through it. And I brought up and said, these women out there, if they're going through a domestic violence, they've got to remember that they only live once. And if they want to get out of this relationship, if they're going through a domestic violence, there's organisations out there for the women with a disability. There's the one in St Kilda, Sacred Heart Mission. There's the Salvation Army. And there's the other one that I went to.
The Office of the Public
Advocate. And there's other organisations out there for people, for women, if they want to leave their partners. And there's even a 24-hour one.
A
hotline, and it's called the Hotline on 24 Hours for Domestic Violence for Women with disabilities or even without disabilities.
Yep.
And you can ring up any time, and they will help you.
Yes.
If you or someone you know is experiencing family violence, you can call 1-800-RESPECT, 1-800-737-732. That number again, 1-800-737-732.
You're listening to 3CR, Raising Our Voices. So I remember that the Office of the Public Advocate presentation recently, No Excuses, Preventing and Responding to Violence and Abuse in Disability Care. You were presenting that day with the Public Advocate, Colleen Pearce, Victoria, the Disability Discrimination Commissioner for Human Rights Commission, and also the NDIS Quality and Safeguards Commissioner.
Yeah, because what happened, me and Colleen, who's a sister girl like me, what we did, I went over a couple of days beforehand and we popped in some questions with Colleen helping me and that, and they were for domestic violence and how to get the word out there on the women. And even just not in women, for men too as well, because men go through it. They do. Ones who are easy targets like women and that. And what happened, we did this a couple of days beforehand and then I read it over at home to get it sunk in. Yeah. And then I went over there for the day and there was about 80 people that was over at the Human Rights in the hall, or whatever you call it. And I done my talk on when Sister Girl asked me questions, Colleen Pearce, and then someone raised up about that these CRUs, that they are still being treated badly. That's when I told, what's his name, the big chief, he's the boss of the whole CRUs around Victoria. And I said to him, we're the ones that have got the experience and we're the ones that should be going in these CRUs because we've been brought up in these institutions. And even for the Indigenous, they've had the experience as well, yes. I said. Yeah, that's and I don't think he'll take it in. I think it's just gone in one ear out the other.
Okay. Well, hopefully we can hold these organisations accountable for responding and preventing this type of abuse from going on at all in the future. I'm really hoping that, and the work that you've done is making a difference. The work that both of you are doing over all these years, it's quite extraordinary.
Yes, because we need that word out there, don't we, Janice?
Yes.
You've been listening to Reinforce, No Strangers Here. You're listening to 3CR, Raising Our Voices. We're speaking with Janice Slattery and Jane Rosegrave today, two wonderful, strong advocates in the disability sector.
Yes, we are strong and powerful, aren't we, Janice?
Yes.
I wanted to ask both of you, our listeners I think would be interested to hear, have you seen much change in the disability sector over the years?
Well, I have seen the changes in the government, because years ago they never used to listen to us and that, but now they are taking notice because there's a lot of us we stand up for what we believe in, so they are taking notice of us now.
That's fantastic.
But there is a way to go, but
yes.
Yeah.
And me, I do see changes, but the problem is, I reckon, is that the staff that work in these CRUs, they should be getting the training from people with a disability before they go into these CRUs to look after the disability people out there, because some staff are from the institutions and they just treat the clients exactly the same way as what they'll treat it in the institutions in these CRUs. But there is some good staff out there, but there is some bad and nasty ones, because I know what it's like, because I've been through that myself.
But there's not many institutions around now.
Yeah.
Has there been any work, Jane and Janice, that have been particular highlights for you during these years?
Well, I can remember one is when I used to be in senior girls in the home, I used to sneak out, and when the milk truck used to come ready for take the milk to the kitchen, I used to sneak out and have a bottle of drink of milk in those little bottles at those days when there was cream on top. And I used to drink gob, 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 gob. And then I used to get
I love it.
I used to get into trouble because sometimes I got away with it, and other times if I got into trouble, I would go to bed at 5 o'clock that night.
Oh.
I would. And that would be for my punishment. That would. And we used to even jump over the beds and all that and hide under the beds and that. We used to when we were in toddlers and even senior girls as well. And then there used to be a lot of people that used to run away. One of the guys did get to Melbourne because each time a car or a truck used to come on the Western Highway, if there was a tree around, he would hide behind a tree. He would, to make sure it's big enough so people can't see him. But the police knew about it. But by the time the police found him, he was living with his mum. And then his mother said, "You're not going to come back to that institution. You're staying with me."
Excellent. So his plan worked. He got away.
Yep.
Janice, were there highlights that you can think back over the years about your work as well?
There was a highlight where what Reinforce did in the past, back in the 80s, the house was going to get pulled down, and they demonstrated, and it was called the Drummond Street Squat, and they demonstrated, and they stopped the bulldozers from pulling it down.
Oh, brilliant. That's fantastic. And did you go to that demonstration?
No, that was before my day.
Okay. But it is something that you recall?
Yep.
Okay.
And can I quickly say another
please.
one? I can remember in the institution which I was in that we used to be like slaves. We had to do the pegs, the moccasins, the baskets we had to do. And I can remember that we were like slaves, and we even had to go grape picking, because in those days we just got $1 for a bucket in those days. But we used to try and hurry up and make 100, which we did, and get $100.
Okay. It sounds like your time in that place was quite awful.
It was, definitely. Yes.
Okay. There were many things, many breaches of your rights and the other residents that took place?
There was, definitely, because the staff, like, they were only there for the leaves, they were, and the leave stands for the money, because I can remember when we were on strike that us older girls had to help out with the staff who weren't staff, but they were from the CWA people, and they used to help out on strikes. They did, and us older women had to do it.
I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you both for being here today and for your excellent work over so many years. That has really made a change for people in the disability sector, both for now and in the future. So thank you very much for being on this episode of Raising Our Voices.
Thanks very much for that.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, please stay tuned for our next show, Completado Balable, and we'll be seeing you next month on radio. Bye for now. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
If the content you've just heard raised any questions or caused distress to you, please contact Lifeline on 131144. That's 131144. For 24-hour telephone support for family violence and sexual assault, you can call 1800 737 732. That's 1800 737 732.
You've been listening to a 3CR podcast produced in the studios of independent community radio station 3CR in Melbourne, Australia. For more information, go to allthews.3cr.org.au.